I am sitting on my balcony this morning, coffee in hand, watching the city wake up below. Life feels peaceful now, almost unbelievably so. 2 years ago, I could not have imagined being here like this. Back then, I thought Madeline was everything. But sometimes, you need to lose what you think matters most to discover what truly does. And sometimes karma has its own way of balancing things out. Before I continue, let me know where you are watching from by dropping a comment below. If you believe in karma, hit that like button and subscribe to hear more stories like this one. I met Madeline at a coffee shop in Austin, Texas about 5 years ago. I was 26 years old at the time, just settling into my job as a software engineer at a small startup. She was 24, working in marketing at an advertising firm downtown. The moment I saw her, something shifted inside me. She had this energy about her, this confidence that filled the room. Her smile could light up the darkest corner. Our first encounter was pure accident. She was rushing to find a seat during the morning rush, and her elbow caught my laptop, sending her latte splashing across my keyboard. I remember watching the brown liquid seep into the keys, thinking my whole day was ruined. But then she started apologizing, her cheeks flushed with embarrassment, offering to buy me a new coffee, a new laptop, whatever I needed. Her sincerity caught me off guard. Instead of being angry, I found myself laughing. We exchanged numbers that day. She texted me that evening to check if my laptop survived. It did barely. But more importantly, that text started something neither of us expected. We began talking every day. Our conversations flowed effortlessly, moving from small talk to deeper subjects within weeks. She told me about her childhood in a small town outside Dallas, how she always felt like she was meant for something bigger. I shared my own dreams of building something meaningful in tech. Our first official date was at a hole-in-the-wall Thai restaurant she loved. We stayed until the staff started stacking chairs around us. The second date was a movie neither of us remembers because we spent the whole time whispering to each other. By the third date, I knew I was falling hard. 6 months later, we moved in together. We found a small apartment near downtown, nothing fancy, but it was ours. Those early days felt magical. Weekend mornings were spent tangled in sheets debating whether to make pancakes or go out for brunch. Evenings were filled with cooking together, her chopping vegetables while I handled the stove music playing softly in the background. We talked about the future constantly. She wanted to open her own marketing agency someday. I wanted to create technology that actually helped people. We believed we could build those dreams together. Madeline was ambitious, fiercely so. She often talked about proving herself to her family, especially her father, who never thought she would amount to much. That drive was something I admired deeply. So when she mentioned wanting to pursue an MBA to accelerate her career, I did not hesitate. I offered to help pay for it. My savings at the time amounted to about $15,000, money I had been setting aside for years. I gave her almost all of it. To cover our monthly expenses, I started taking freelance projects on evenings and weekends. My days stretched from 7 in the morning until midnight most nights. I was exhausted, but I told myself it was temporary. Once Madeline finished her degree and landed a better position, we would reap the rewards together. Around that time, my company offered me a promotion. The catch was significant travel, sometimes weeks at a time. Madeline made it clear she did not want me gone that often. She said it would strain our relationship, that she needed me present while she navigated the stress of graduate school. So I turned it down. My friend Nathan, who had known me since college, pulled me aside after I told him. He looked at me with concern in his eyes. "You are turning yourself into her shadow," he said. "You are giving away pieces of yourself and getting nothing back." I brushed off his words. Nathan did not understand what real love required, I told myself. Sacrifice was part of the deal. But looking back, the signs were there long before I was willing to see them. Madeline started coming home later and later from work. She blamed it on a major project, a demanding client, deadlines that kept shifting. I believed her because I wanted to believe her. Then she started mentioning Derek. He was a senior manager who had just transferred from the New York office. According to Madeline, he was brilliant, connected, the kind of person who could open doors for her career. She talked about him with a spark in her voice that I chose to ignore. I even encouraged her to learn from him, to soak up whatever knowledge he could offer. I was that naive. One night I woke up around 11 to find her side of the bed empty. I walked into the living room and found her curled up on the couch, phone screen glowing in the darkness. She was smiling at something on the screen, her fingers tapping out a response. When I asked who she was texting so late, she barely looked up. "Just the work group chat," she said. "Some last-minute changes to the presentation." I nodded and went back to bed, ignoring the knot forming in my stomach. The truth found me on a Friday evening, about 3 months after Derek first entered our conversations. I had left work early that day, wanting to surprise Madeline. I stopped to buy flowers, her favorite yellow roses, and made a reservation at the Italian restaurant where we had our first anniversary dinner. I imagined her face lighting up when she saw me waiting at home. The apartment was dark and empty when I arrived. Madeline had texted earlier saying she was meeting a client for dinner, probably would not be back until late. I decided to wait, maybe set up candles and have everything ready when she walked in. Her iPad was lying on the couch, something she rarely left behind. The screen lit up with a notification while I was arranging the flowers. I glanced over instinctively. The preview showed a message from Derek. Just 2 words visible. "Miss you." I wish I could say I did not look further. I wish I had respected her privacy and waited to ask her directly. But something in my gut knew. I picked up the tablet and unlocked it. She had never changed the passcode from her birthday. The messages went back months. Hundreds of them. Derek called her baby sweetheart, his future. There were photos of them at restaurants. I did not recognize her, leaning into him with a familiarity that made my hands shake. He talked about their plans, about how she deserved someone who could give her the life she wanted, not someone stuck in a dead-end job. She agreed. She told him I was comfortable but boring, that she had outgrown me, that she was just waiting for the right moment to leave. I sat in the dark for 3 hours reading through their entire history. The flowers wilted on the counter. The restaurant reservation went unclaimed. Madeline came home at 11 that night, humming to herself as she unlocked the door. When she flipped on the light and saw me sitting there, iPad in hand, her expression shifted through several emotions. Surprise, calculation, and finally, something that looked almost like relief. I did not yell. I did not cry. I just asked her one question. How long? She did not apologize. She did not try to explain or make excuses. She sat down across from me and spoke as if she were discussing a business transaction. She told me she had been planning to tell me that week. Derek offered her something I never could. It was not just money, she said, though that was part of it. He had vision, ambition, connections. He was going places, and he wanted to take her with him. She said I was a good man, truly, but I lacked drive. She predicted I would spend my whole life as an ordinary programmer, never reaching for anything greater. Derek was about to be promoted to director. He had plans, big ones. She started packing that night. Clothes, toiletries, the jewelry I had saved months to buy her. She moved with efficiency, as if she had rehearsed this moment. As she zipped up her last bag, she paused at the door. "Thank you for everything," she said. "But I deserve more than this." She gestured vaguely at the apartment, at me, at the life we had built together. Then she mentioned that Derek was waiting downstairs. Not once did she bring up the $15,000. Not a single word of acknowledgement for the years I had given her. The door closed behind her, and I sat alone in the silence, staring at the yellow roses slowly dying on the counter. 3 days later, the first social media post appeared. Madeline and Derek posed on a rooftop bar, city lights twinkling behind them. Her caption read, "Finally found my soulmate." The likes and comments poured in from people we both knew. "So happy for you. You two look perfect together. About time you found someone worthy." The posts kept coming over the following weeks. Photos from a weekend trip to Miami. A designer handbag Derek had surprised her with. Dinners at restaurants where a single meal cost more than our weekly grocery budget. She tagged locations that felt deliberate places we had visited during our relationship, as if she wanted to overwrite every memory with new ones featuring him. Mutual friends reached out sometimes with sympathy, sometimes with gossip. Madeline had been telling everyone she finally escaped a relationship that was holding her back. She described our 4 years together as a learning experience, a phase she needed to go through before finding real love. Derek even sent me a message. "No hard feelings, man. May the best man win." He attached a winking emoji. I stared at that message for a long time before blocking both of them on every platform I could think of. But the cruelty did not stop there. Madeline reached out to my mother of all people. She called to say she hoped I would find someone more suitable for me, that she had enjoyed being part of our family, that there were no hard feelings on her end. My mother, bewildered and hurt on my behalf, told me about the call with tears in her eyes. The message was clear. Madeline was not content just leaving me. She wanted to ensure I knew exactly what I had lost and exactly what she had gained. The month after Madeline left nearly destroyed me. I stopped eating properly, surviving on instant noodles and coffee. Sleep became a stranger, showing up in brief, fitful episodes that left me more exhausted than before. At work, I made mistakes I never would have made 6 months earlier. Simple code errors, missed meetings, deadlines that slipped past while I stared blankly at my screen. My boss called me into his office on a Tuesday afternoon. He was a good man, someone who had always been fair with me. But business was business. He told me straight, "Whatever you are going through, you need to figure it out. I cannot keep someone who is not performing. Consider this your warning." I nodded and walked out, feeling nothing. The apartment became a reflection of my internal state. Dishes piled in the sink, clothes scattered across the floor. I drew the curtains and lived in perpetual twilight, unable to face the sun. The lowest point came on an otherwise ordinary Wednesday night. I drove to the parking lot of a grocery store with no intention of going inside. I just sat there in my car, engine off, watching people come and go with their normal lives and their normal problems. And I cried. Not gentle tears, but ugly, gasping sobs that came from somewhere deep and broken. That was how Nathan found me. He had been calling for days, texts I had ignored, voicemails I had deleted without listening. When I stopped responding entirely, he tracked my phone location and drove across town. He did not knock on my window. He just opened the passenger door and sat down beside me. We stayed there in silence for a long time, my sobs eventually fading into hiccups and then into exhausted quiet. When I finally looked at him, he spoke without a trace of pity, just hard truth. "You gave 4 years of your life and $15,000 to someone who did not deserve a single day. That is done. It is gone. You cannot get it back. But you can decide what happens next. And right now, you are choosing to let her win. You are proving every terrible thing she said about you. Is that what you want?" His words hit me like cold water. I had been so consumed by pain that I had not considered what I was actually doing. I was not grieving. I was surrendering. Nathan did not let me wallow after that night. He showed up at my apartment the next morning at 5:30, banging on the door until I opened it. He handed me running shoes and told me we were going to the gym. I protested. He ignored me. That first workout was humiliating. I could barely finish a mile on the treadmill. My arms shook trying to lift weights that should have been easy. But Nathan kept showing up. Every single morning. He would not let me quit. Slowly, exercise became routine. Then it became something I needed. The physical exhaustion quieted the mental noise. Each small improvement, another pound on the bar, another minute of cardio, felt like reclaiming a piece of myself. Nathan also introduced me to a group of his friends who were building a tech startup. They needed engineering help, and he had volunteered my name before asking me. At first I was annoyed, but working with them reminded me why I had fallen in love with programming in the first place. We were creating something new, solving real problems. The work gave me purpose again. I enrolled in an advanced certification program for machine learning, something I had wanted to pursue for years but never had time for because I was too busy supporting Madeline. Studying filled the hours I used to spend with her. I poured my energy into learning, determined to become the best version of myself. I also started a blog about technology and career development. Nothing fancy, just sharing what I was learning along the way. I wrote late at night after finishing coursework, finding that putting thoughts into words helped me process everything I was experiencing. 3 months after my breakdown in the parking lot, I looked in the mirror and barely recognized myself. I had lost 20 pounds, all of it the stress weight I had gained during those final months with Madeline. My posture was different. My eyes were clearer. For the first time in longer than I could remember, I liked what I saw. At work, my performance rebounded and then surpassed anything I had achieved before. The skills I was developing through the certification program caught the attention of senior leadership. They assigned me to a high-profile project, something that would have terrified me a year earlier. I delivered it ahead of schedule and under budget. Then the message arrived that changed everything. A recruiter from a major tech company in San Francisco found me through my blog. She said my writing demonstrated exactly the kind of thinking they valued. Would I be interested in interviewing? The interview process took 2 months. Technical challenges, behavioral assessments, meetings with people at every level of the organization. When the offer came through, I had to read it 3 times to believe the numbers. The salary was double what I was making. The title was senior engineer. The package included stock options that could be worth significantly more if the company continued growing. I moved to San Francisco that spring. My new apartment had a view of the bay, something I never would have dreamed of affording before. The work was challenging in the best way, surrounded by brilliant people who pushed me to grow every day. Within a year, I was leading a small team, mentoring junior engineers, presenting to executives. Life had become something I had never imagined it could be. It was during a visit home to Austin that I learned what happened to Madeline. Nathan and I were having coffee at a place near my parents' house when he brought it up. He hesitated at first, unsure if I wanted to know. But curiosity won out. I told him to tell me everything. Derek, it turned out, was not who he claimed to be. The director position he was supposedly receiving never existed. He had fabricated his credentials, his connections, his entire persona. The real Derek was a con artist with a string of victims across multiple states. He specialized in targeting ambitious women, gaining their trust, and eventually their money. Madeline had invested everything into his supposed startup. Nearly $50,000 of her savings money she had accumulated partly from her MBA that I had helped fund. She believed she was becoming a partner in a revolutionary new venture. Instead, she was funding Derek's lifestyle and his escape plan. He disappeared after 8 months, cleared out his apartment, deactivated all his accounts, vanished like smoke. Madeline was not his only victim. At least 2 other women had come forward, all of them telling similar stories. But Madeline's situation got worse. Some of Derek's activities had been funneled through her company, using her professional connections as cover for transactions that turned out to be fraudulent. When investigators started looking into Derek, they also started looking at her. She lost her job. Her reputation in the marketing industry was destroyed. No one would touch her. Last Nathan heard, she had moved back to her parents' house in that small town outside Dallas. She always said she had escaped. She was drowning in debt, facing potential legal troubles, and trying to piece together what was left of her life. A few weeks after Nathan told me all this, I received a message from Madeline. I recognized her number even though I had deleted her contact long ago. She apologized. She said she had been wrong about everything. She asked if we could meet just to talk, to give her a chance to explain. I read that message several times. I thought about everything we had shared, everything she had taken, everything I had become since she left. Then I put down my phone without responding. It was not about anger. The rage I once felt had faded into something quieter. I simply had nothing left to say to her. Our story was finished. Responding would not heal anything. It would only reopen wounds that had finally closed. I met Sophie at a technology meetup in San Francisco about 6 months after I moved. She was presenting on a project her team had developed, and I was struck by how clearly she explained complex concepts. We ended up at the same table during the networking hour debating the future of artificial intelligence over mediocre appetizers. Sophie grew up in Oregon, raised by parents who were both teachers. She had none of Madeline's flashy ambition, but she had something more valuable: depth, kindness, a genuine curiosity about the world and the people in it. Our relationship developed slowly, which was exactly what I needed. We went on casual dates for months before either of us acknowledged what was building between us. She knew about Madeline. I told her the whole story one night, expecting her to see me as damaged goods. Instead, she listened quietly and then said something I will never forget. "Your past does not define you. How you grew through it does. And from where I am sitting, you grew into someone pretty remarkable." We have been together for 8 months now. Sunday evenings are our thing. We cook dinner together, usually something simple, wine glasses leaving rings on the counter, while we argue about whose Spotify playlist gets to play. Last week I burned the eggs so badly we had to open every window in the apartment. She laughed until tears ran down her face. I laughed with her. Looking back on everything, I realized that Madeline taught me something I desperately needed to learn. For years, I believed that love meant sacrificing yourself completely for another person. I thought my worth depended on how much I could give, how much I could diminish myself to make someone else shine brighter. I was wrong. Real love is not about erasure. It is about two complete people choosing to grow together without losing themselves. The right person will never ask you to become smaller so they can feel larger. I do not celebrate what happened to Madeline. There is no joy in watching someone's life collapse, even someone who hurt me deeply. But I also recognize that karma is not some mystical force of punishment. It is simply the natural consequence of choices. She chose to pursue status and money without questioning the source. She chose to discard people who genuinely cared about her. Those choices had outcomes. I made choices too. In the darkest period of my life, I chose to get up when everything in me wanted to stay down. I chose to invest in myself instead of chasing someone who had already left. I chose to believe that I was worth more than how she made me feel. Those choices also had outcomes. This morning I sat on my balcony again, coffee in hand, watching the fog roll in across the bay. Sophie was still sleeping, wrapped in blankets, her hair spread across the pillow. In a few hours she would wake up and we would make breakfast together, probably burning something again. The thought made me smile. I am not the same person Madeline left behind in that dark apartment 2 years ago. That man was broken. He did not know his own value. He gave everything to someone who saw him as a stepping stone. The man I am today knows better. If you are watching this after a painful breakup, after someone made you feel worthless, after betrayal, left you questioning everything, I want you to hear this. The worst chapter of your story does not have to be the final chapter. Sometimes it is just the turning point that leads to everything better. You are worth more than how they treated you. You deserve someone who sees that without you having to prove it. And while you wait for that person, the most important relationship you can build is with yourself. Karma has a way of sorting things out, but you do not need to wait for it. You do not need to wish bad things on people who hurt you. Just focus on becoming the person you were meant to be. The rest will take care of itself. Now I want to hear from you. Have you ever experienced karma finding its way to someone who wronged you, or are you still waiting, still healing, still growing through something painful? Drop your story in the comments below. This community is built on shared experiences, and your words might be exactly what someone else needs to hear today. If this story resonated with you, please hit that like button and share it with someone who might need to hear it. Subscribe if you want more stories about real life, real pain, and real growth. Your support means everything and helps us keep sharing these experiences. Thank you for spending this time with me today. Whatever you are going through, whatever chapter you are in right now, I am wishing you strength, clarity, and the courage to become who you are meant to be. Take care of yourselves, and I will see you in the next one.